Welcome to Dieu Han RV, where every step forward begins with a quiet storm inside the heart. Thank you for being here again. Let us know where you're watching from today. Your presence truly matters. And now, let us gently open the door to a new chapter. Tom is growing. Not quite ready for school yet, but close. Close enough to make a mother's heart both proud and terrified at the same time. He's asking questions now about schools, backpacks, and friends. Dieu Han watches him closely, amazed at how quickly the days have passed. She used to count hours just to make it through the night. Now, she's counting weeks until her son begins a new life. He's excited. She pretends to be. But in her chest is a quiet ache of knowing she'll have to let him go, even just a little. She walks past a store and sees a row of tiny uniforms. She pauses, imagines Tom in one. The image makes her smile and break a little. She wants him to belong, to grow, to find his place in the world. But it also means he'll be away from her more. And after everything they've survived together, distance feels like a new kind of danger, quieter, invisible, but no less real. Each night, she adds something to a quiet list in her mind. Shoes, a water bottle, a backpack, maybe a small towel. She has no guidebook for this. No one to ask. Only instincts shaped by survival. Her love for Tom is fierce, but parenting, real parenting, is terrifying. Because now, it's not about hiding. It's about preparing. For days when she won't be there to catch him if he stumbles. Sometimes at night, when Tom sleeps with one arm over his stuffed bear, Dieu Han just watches. There's peace in his face, a peace she never had as a child. And that's what drives her, not just to keep him safe, but to give him a life she never knew. A life where school isn't scary, where mornings don't begin with fear, where his future feels soft and possible. He's not at school yet, but she knows the day will come. And when it does, she'll pack his bag with care, lace his shoes with trembling hands, and smile through the ache. Because loving a child means building wings on someone else's back, even when your own heart is made of fragile glass. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Let us know in the comments, and stay with us to see what happens next. There are nights when Dieu Han stares at the ceiling, wondering if love alone is enough. Can her hands build a future strong enough to carry both her and Tom? She thinks about all the times she almost gave up, and how Tom's small voice kept her going. That's what motherhood is, she realizes. Not perfection, but persistence. Not having all the answers, but choosing, every single day, to stay. She worries about school not just as a place, but as a world. A world that may not understand boys who cry easily, or mothers with trembling hands. She worries that Tom's softness will be mistaken for weakness, that his quiet will be ignored. But she reminds herself, kindness is not a flaw. It's a strength she has fought to protect in him, and she won't let the world take that away. Dieu Han walks past parents who seem confident, children who laugh without fear. She wonders if they've known the same darkness she has. Maybe not. Maybe that's why her smile feels different at tight. Brave, stitched together by survival. But even so, she stands tall, because even mothers who've been broken can raise children who stand whole. She saves every coin now, counting it twice before spending. School isn't just a dream, it's a price tag. There's the uniform, the shoes, the meals. But more than that, there's the pressure, the invisible cost of wanting more for your child when you've always had less. Still, she chooses hope. Not because it's easy, but because it's the only thing stronger than fear. Some days she feels small, like the world is too big, too fast, and she's just one tired woman with a child and a dream. But then Tom runs into her arms, laughing about something silly. And the whole world feels quiet again. In those moments, she remembers she's not building an empire, she's building a home. She doesn't talk much about the past. Some stories are too heavy to carry in words. But every night, when she tucks Tom in, she whispers a small promise: you will never have to grow up the way I did. That vow lives in every decision she makes, every shift she works, every tear she hides. She watches other children on their first day of school and imagines Tom among them. It frightens her, not because she doubts him, but because she knows how fragile trust can be. Still, she holds on to one truth: Tom has already made it through so much, and so has she. They may not have everything, but they have each other. Dieu Han knows the road ahead won't be easy, but every backpack she zips, every storybook she reads, every goodbye kiss at the door of it all adds up, not to a perfect life, but to a meaningful one. Because in the end, that's what love does. It shows up, even when you're scared, even when you're tired, it stays. There are nights when Dieu Han wishes someone else were there. Not to fix everything, just to listen. To pour her tea while she packs Tom's bag. To hold her hand when she doubts herself. She's been strong for so long that the idea of softness feels foreign. But deep down, she still hopes not for rescue, but for someone who chooses to stay. She tells herself she doesn't need anyone, and it's mostly true. She survived storms, raised a child alone, built something from nothing, but even the strongest hands get tired, and sometimes, at the end of the day, she imagines what it might be like to lean on someone without apology, to rest, just for a moment. She remembers what love felt like, the good parts, and the parts that broke her. It's hard to trust again, harder to open doors she once locked tight, but now, watching Tom grow, she wonders if he needs more than just her, a father figure, a kind presence, someone to show him what healthy love looks like. It's not about needing to be saved. Dieu Han has already saved herself many times, but there's a quiet ache that grows louder with time, the ache of having no one to share the small victories with. A silly joke Tom made, a good meal she cooked, the little moments that mean everything, but echo differently in silence. Sometimes she sees fathers picking up their children and wonders how different life might have been, not in bitterness, but in quiet curiosity. What if someone had stayed? What if someone still could? But then she tucks those thoughts away, not because they're wrong, but because surviving has taught her not to wish too loudly. Still, hope doesn't die easily. It lingers. In the way she dresses a little nicer some days. In the way she pauses before deleting old messages. In the way her eyes soften when someone is kind. Maybe one day, someone will come. Not to complete her, but to walk beside her. And when that day comes, she hopes she'll still be brave enough to say yes. The ache started small, a dull headache, a bit of dizziness. Dieu Han brushed it off, like she always did. There's no time to be sick when you're the only one holding everything together. But by evening, her body felt heavy, her breath shorter. It wasn't just fatigue anymore. It was her body saying what her heart hadn't dared to: I can't keep doing this alone. She smiled for him. Of course, mothers always do. But behind the smile was a quiet plea, for a hand to hold, just this once. For someone to notice her pale face, to say, "Let me help." But the room stayed silent, as always. She tried to rest, but rest doesn't come easy when your mind is racing. What if she collapsed? What if something happened to her? Who would care for Tom? The thought alone made her chest tighten. Being strong isn't a choice anymore, it's her only option. And yet, in her weakness, a new truth emerges: even the strongest women need someone to lean on. She remembered days long past, when she was cared for during a fever, when someone made porridge and checked her forehead. That warmth, so ordinary back then, now felt like a distant dream. She wasn't asking for much, not grand gestures. Just presence, a voice in the kitchen, a cup of water handed gently, a hand on her back when she shivers. She whispered a truth into the quiet: I'm tired, not just of the fever, but of carrying everything alone. She didn't cry, not because she wasn't hurting, but because tears required more energy than she had left. Instead, she closed her eyes and imagined it: a man's voice in the other room. Footsteps coming closer. The soft sound of someone caring. She knew it wasn't real, but in that moment, imagining was enough to keep her breathing. She splashed cold water on her face, hoping to shake the fog from her mind. The mirror showed a pale version of herself, lips dry, eyes dim. She whispered, "Wake up," but her reflection didn't obey. Her body, usually quick and busy, felt foreign now. Even standing upright was a struggle. Still, she pressed on. That's what mothers do. They move forward, even when everything inside them begs to stop. She stepped into the kitchen, each movement dragging. The thought of warm rice and soup comforted her, but her hands trembled as she reached for the pot. Her knees buckled slightly. She gripped the counter, heart pounding. "I can do this," she whispered, but even the water wouldn't boil. The world spun slowly. Cooking something she had done thousands of times now felt like lifting a mountain. She stared at the uncooked rice, the unlit stove, the silent kitchen. Her body was giving up. She hated that. She had no one to call, no one to say, "Just rest. I'll take care of it." She sat on the floor, back against the cold cabinet, breathing in short gasps. And then she stopped fighting. Sometimes, strength looks like surrender. Eventually, she pulled herself up and made her way back to the bedroom. The hallway felt longer than usual. Her stomach ached, not from illness alone, but from hunger. She hadn't eaten all day. The irony wasn't lost on her. She always made sure Tom was fed, even when she wasn't. Now, it was her turn to go to bed on an empty stomach. She curled up in bed, blanket pulled to her chin. Her whole body throbbed from hunger, from fever, from loneliness. She closed her eyes, hoping sleep would steal her away from it all. But sleep wouldn't come. Instead came thoughts. What if someone was here? Not to fix her, just to notice, to say nothing, but stay anyway. She didn't want a hero. She didn't need saving. She just wanted someone who'd notice when her hands shook, who'd say, "You don't have to do this alone." Someone who'd make soup when she couldn't stand. Someone who'd see her not just as a mother, but as a woman who gets tired, too. Have you ever had a day like Dieu Han's, where even standing felt like too much? When your body gave up before your will did? In moments like these, is it weakness to wish someone was there? Or is it simply human? Let us know in the comments. Tell us, when was the last time you truly needed someone? Do you think life would feel easier if there was a man besides Dieu Han, someone kind, steady, and present? Sometimes, love doesn't have to be grand. It just needs to show up when we're at our weakest. What do you think? Would it truly make a difference? Or is being alone part of the journey too? We know so many of you out there are fighting quiet battles just like Dieu Han. If her story speaks to you, don't forget to like this video. Share it with someone who might need to hear it today. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel. There's more to come. And we want you with us every step of the way. This isn't the end for Dieu Han. It's just a hard chapter. And sometimes, the hardest chapters are where the strongest parts of us are born. Stay with us, because next time, someone may knock on that door, and it might just change everything.